클릭해주셔서 감사합니다. Hello everyone, I'm Laiseo JK Dae. In the previous lecture, we explored whether money itself could eventually disappear. Today we are gonna ask an even larger and more controversial question. Could humanity one day abandon capitalism entirely? Modern civilization is deeply shaped by capitalism. Most people today live within systems based on markets, private property, competition, profit, investment, and wage labor. Capitalism transformed human history dramatically. It helped create industrialization, technological innovation, global trade, mass production, and modern consumer society. But capitalism also faces growing criticism. People increasingly question inequality, consumerism, environmental destruction, corporate power, economic instability, automation, and the meaning of work itself. This raises a profound civilizational question. Is capitalism the final economic system, or could humanity even eventually evolve beyond it? Today we will explore capitalism historically, its strengths and weaknesses, alternative systems, technological transformation, and the possible future of post-capitalist civilization. This may become one of the most important questions humanity ever asks. Let's begin. First, let's understand something important. Capitalism is not simply people buying and selling things. Markets existed long before capitalism. Ancient civilizations traded goods extensively. Capitalism specifically refers to an economic system where most production is privately owned. Investment drives economic activity. Profit becomes the central incentive. Wage labor becomes dominant, and markets coordinate large-scale production. Modern capitalism developed gradually over centuries, especially after industrialization. Now let's discuss why capitalism became so powerful. Capitalism created extraordinary productive capacity. Competition encouraged innovation. Businesses constantly searched for better technology, lower costs, higher efficiency, and new products. This created rapid economic growth. Modern medicine, computers, transportation systems, global communication networks. Much of modern civilization emerged within capitalist systems. Now let's discuss incentives again. Capitalism works partly because it aligns incentives strongly. People often work harder when rewards increase. Entrepreneurs take risks because success may generate profits. Investors fund innovation because they expect returns. Competition can motivate efficiency and creativity. This dynamic helped capitalism outperform many other economic systems historically. But capitalism also creates major problems. Let's discuss inequality first. Capitalist systems often produce enormous wealth differences. Some individuals accumulate extraordinary fortunes while others struggle economically. Critics argue capitalism concentrates wealth and power excessively. Supporters respond that inequality partly reflects differences in skill, innovation, risk-taking, and productivity. The debate remains deeply controversial. Now let's discuss consumerism again. Capitalism often depends heavily on continuous consumption. Companies seek growth constantly. Advertising encourages endless desire. Critics argue this can create waste, anxiety, environmental destruction, and superficial values. Supporters respond that consumer choice increases freedom and living standards. Again, capitalism involves trade-offs. Now let's discuss crisis. Capitalist economies are dynamic but also unstable. History includes financial crashes, recessions, depressions, and market bubbles. Because capitalism depends heavily on investment and expectations, economic optimism and fear can spread rapidly. This creates cycles of boom and crisis. Now let's discuss labor again. Modern capitalism developed during industrialization, but automation may transform labor fundamentally. If artificial intelligence eventually performs large amounts of economic work, traditional wage labor may weaken significantly. This creates a serious challenge. Capitalism depends heavily on consumers earning wages. But what happens if machines increasingly replace workers? Now let's discuss ownership. Who owns productive technology may become one of the defining questions of the future. If AI, robotics, and advanced infrastructure may remain privately concentrated, inequality could increase dramatically. Some thinkers argue future societies may require broader forms of ownership involving cooperatives, public ownership, shared technological infrastructure, and universal resource systems. This could gradually transform capitalism itself. Now let's discuss socialism historically. Many socialist movements criticized capitalism's inequalities and exploitation. Some advocated public ownership of major industries. Others emphasized worker control and economic democracy. However, many centrally planned economies historically struggled with inefficiency, corruption, lack of innovation, and political authoritarianism. This caused many societies to distrust large-scale centralized economic control. Now let's discuss mixed economies. Most modern countries already combine capitalism with non-capitalist elements. Governments often provide public education, healthcare, infrastructure, welfare systems, and environmental regulation. Very few modern economies are purely capitalist in absolute form. Most societies balance markets with public institutions. Now let's think philosophically. What is capitalism ultimately designed to do? Capitalism is extremely effective at generating production and innovation, but is maximizing production civilization's ultimate goal? Critics increasingly argue societies should prioritize human well-being, sustainability, leisure, mental health, community, and ecological balance rather than endless growth alone. Now let's discuss technology again. Advanced technology may eventually weaken traditional capitalism in unexpected ways. For example, if AI produces goods at near zero cost, scarcity may decrease dramatically. Digital products already demonstrate this partially. Once software is created, it can often be copied almost infinitely at very low cost. Future automation may expand this logic into other industries. Now let's discuss open source systems. The internet created forms of collaboration that sometimes operate outside traditional profit systems. Examples include open source software, Wikipedia, and collaborative knowledge systems. Many people contribute without direct financial incentives. This suggests humans are motivated by more than profit alone. Now let's discuss universal basic income again. Some thinkers believe future capitalist societies may increasingly rely on UBI to stabilize consumption during automation. This would preserve markets while reducing dependence on traditional labor. Such systems could create hybrid economies, combining markets, automation, public distribution systems, and digital infrastructure. The future may involve gradual transformation rather than sudden revolution. Now let's discuss environmental sustainability again. Infinite growth on a finite planet may become increasingly difficult. Capitalism historically depended heavily on expansion, but ecological constraints may pressure societies toward new economic models emphasizing sustainability, circular production, resource efficiency, and long-term planning. Future capitalism may need to change significantly to survive environmental realities. Now let's discuss power again. Economic systems are never purely economic. They are political. Who controls wealth often influences media, technology, laws, public discourse, and political institutions. Critics worry extreme corporate concentration may weaken democracy itself. This increases interest in alternative systems. Now let's think psychologically. Humans desire security, recognition, meaning, freedom, and belonging. No economic system perfectly satisfies all these desires simultaneously. Capitalism provides certain freedoms while creating certain anxieties. Alternative systems may solve some problems while creating others. There may never be a flawless economic structure. Now let's discuss post-capitalism. Some futurists imagine economies where automation handles most production, basic needs become universal, ownership structures evolve, human labor becomes less central, and profit becomes less dominant. In such societies, economics may focus increasingly on distribution, meaning sustainability and human flourishing, rather than maximizing industrial production alone. Now let's discuss transition. Even if capitalism eventually changes fundamentally, transitions are extremely difficult. Economic systems are deeply interconnected with laws, governments, financial institutions, global trade, human habits, and political power. Large-scale economic transformation often creates instability and resistance. Now let's think historically again. Feudalism once appeared permanent, then industrial capitalism transformed civilization. This reminds us that economic systems are historical, not eternal. Future societies may eventually look radically different from today. Now let's discuss a deeper possibility. Perhaps capitalism itself will not simply disappear. Perhaps it will evolve continuously. Future systems may combine markets, AI coordination, public resource systems, digital economies, automated production, and shared ownership models. The future may become more hybrid and complex than simple labels like capitalism or socialism. Now let's think philosophically one final time. Perhaps the deepest question is not what economic system should humanity use. Perhaps the deeper question is what kind of civilization should humans become? Economic systems are tools. They shape human behavior, values, and relationships. But ultimately, economics should serve humanity, not the other way around. Now here is one final important idea. Human civilization is still evolving. Technology, AI, climate change, demographic shifts, and globalization may transform economies more during the next century than during many previous centuries combined. The future economic system may be something modern people cannot fully imagine it, and the challenge facing humanity may not simply be creating wealth, but learning how to use power, technology, and resources wisely enough to sustain civilization itself. So let's summarize today's lecture. Capitalism transformed human civilization through innovation, competition, industrialization, and economic growth. However, capitalism also creates serious challenges involving inequality, consumerism, environmental sustainability, and technological disruption. Automation and artificial intelligence may eventually weaken traditional wage labor and transform ownership structures fundamentally. Future societies may evolve toward hybrid systems combining markets, automation, public systems, and new forms of economic coordination. And ultimately, the future beyond capitalism depends not only on economics, but on humanity's evolving understanding of freedom, justice, meaning, sustainability, and the purpose of civilization itself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this lecture, please like and subscribe. See you next time.